salt along with its solvent layer protects this hydrophobic salt from aggregation. Getting my point? First, in the first point, the hydrophobic salt come close to each other and form a aggregated form. Now, if I add a hydrophilic salt to this hydrophobic solvent, this hydrophilic salt protects this hydrophobic salt from this type of aggregated form. Now, it is uh, due to this solvent loop. This hydrophilic salt is called protective salt for this hydrophobic. It is called protective salt. Now you know, so depending on this idea and this coagulation or flocculation, there is a law for this topic, which is called Hardy-Sulze rule. You already heard this term, Hardy-Sulze rule, and it says that the coagulation of any sol is happened or is occurring by the opposite ion. For example, if it is negatively hydrophobic salt, negatively, so it will be aggregated by positive electrolyte. If it is positive, it will be aggregated by negative. For example, here it is I minus, so it will be aggregated by Na plus, and it is Na plus, or in case of Ag plus, then it will be aggregated by Cl minus or other negatively charged. First point. Second point is that this aggregated power is depend on the charge of the oppositely ion. For example, if I say Ca aluminium 3 plus and Ca2 plus and one is Na plus, then obviously it is 3 plus, this is 2 plus, this is only plus 1. So aggregating power of aluminium 3 plus will be more and than this calcium and bigger, better than this Na plus, and it is square and dependent or proportional to the square of the valency. Now that means 3 square and this is 2 square and 1 square. That means 9, 4 and 1. You can say in other word that the aggregating power of aluminium 3 plus is 9 times better, 9 times greater than this Na plus. So this is the second point. And the third point is the minimum amount of the electrolyte for for coagulation is called flocculation value, and it is depend on the electrolyte, nature of electrolyte and its valency. Okay, now back to this point, the protective colloid. Depending on this idea, Zygmunt gave a quantitative treatment for stabilizing action of protective colloid, and you already know it is called the gold number. And in your book, the definition is somehow little bit, you know, lengthy and confusion. So I will make it clear. So Zygmunt gave the quantitative treatment for this, protective colloids definition. He took gold solution whose concentration is gold solution whose color is red. Okay, and this is your hydrophobic salt. Better it is your salt. Now I add NaCl. Now I'm adding NaCl solution whose concentration is 10%. Okay, and take 1 ml of this NaCl, and this amount is 10 ml. Just understand the definition of gold number. This is your salt, like this one. This is your salt, and this is your electrolyte. So similarly, this is gold solution which act as a salt, colloidal salt, whose color is red. I took 10 ml of this gold solution. Now to aggregate this solution, if I add NaCl, 1 ml of NaCl, which concentration is 10%. You know, percentage also a way of presenting the concentration, like the normality, molarity. Similarly, percentage is also one form of expressing the concentration. So your concentration, NaCl concentration is 10%. From that 10% NaCl, I take 1 ml of it. Now, if I add 1 ml of NaCl to this 10 ml of gold solution, this gold solution, if initially it is like this, they form a aggregated form like this one due to this opposite ion Na plus, and it aggregate, and due to this aggregation from red it becomes blue color. Okay, the aggregated form, since this is bigger in size, so their color also changes. So from red to blue, color changing due to the aggregated form. Now, our target is to prevent this aggregate by adding the protective colloids, that is your, for example, hydrophilic colloid. Now, now if we will add the protective colloid, this is generalized term, protective colloids, such amount that it will prevent this aggregation. That means it will prevent this color change from red to blue. And the amount of this protective colloid is called gold number. Getting my point? Understand? What is gold number?
Yes,
First, you take the gold solution, and its color is initially, that means your colloidal solution color is red. When you add an external electrolyte, for example, NaCl, whose concentration is 10%, and you take 1 ml of that, and gold solution you take 10 ml, and 1 ml is sufficient for the aggregation of this gold solution. For the aggregation, the color change becomes red to blue. Okay. Now our target is to prevent or to, so that this aggregation should not happen, and this minimum amount of protective colloids in milligram, the amount expressed in milligram, the minimum amount of protective colloids in milligram, which prevents a color change from red to violet or blue or violet, red to violet, of 10 ml, listen the definition, red to violet of 10 ml gold solution by the addition of 1 ml of 10% NaCl solution. That means they are saying the result first and the experiment last. First, they prevent the color change from here when you add 10% NaCl to this gold solution, and this is called gold number. Okay, and since and gold number due to this, because the experiment was done with this gold solution. Similarly, later after this experiment, there different, with the different solution experiment was done. That's why there is silver number or copper number when they are doing the experiment with the copper solution or silver solution. So there is a table in the Puri Sharma book. You can see the data from there. Now, this is gold number, and in your syllabus there is also emulsions. Emulsions mean when the dispersion phase as well as the dispersion medium both are liquid. That type of colloidal solution is called emulsion. Emulsions are two types. I have given this questions in your assignment 2, but I am explaining in short. In the classification, there is two type of emulsion. When water, oil in water, that means when water is dispersion medium and your disperse phase is oil. So oil in water, and this is water in oil. And since water as well as oil, both are not miscible with each other, that means they are not soluble with each other. So preparation of emulsion is somehow difficult, by that means the mixing of this water and oil is difficult. For that, we have to add an extra third element or third agent or substance, which is called emulsifier or emulsifying agent. Because you see here from the figure, if I say this is your oil and the outsider is water, then this emulsifier, which have polar as well as non-polar side. This is the polar head, which are positive or negative, that is charged polar portion, and this is the non-polar portion, that is your hydrocarbon, basically hydrocarbon tail. This is head, this is tail, and this emulsifier orient itself in such a way that it this polar side making contact with polar water molecule, and this non-polar, that is your hydrocarbon part, making contact with your hydrocarbon. That means this third element, and it's situated like this and form a stable emulsifier, and it is called emulsifier or emulsifying agent. And basically they are surfactant. For example, soap. uh, in soap there is two portion. One is polar, positive or negative charge, and one is the tail portion, that is the long hydrocarbon chain, and they stabilize this water or oil mixture like this. So in this way we can prepare the emulsion by adding the emulsifier. Okay, so this is the classification of emulsion. And in the preparation section, and I have also given another question which is called gels, the preparation of gels, the classifications of gels, and the properties. So in my notes, as well as from photocopy of scan of Puri Sharma, there are mentioned the all this topic. So you just make arrange note or proper notes point wise and send me in the assignment too. So gels basically when the liquid is the dispersed phase and solid is the dispersion medium, that type of colloidal case is called gel. And gels basically the coagulation of lyophilic or lyophobic salts yields usually a precipitate when dispersed phase are more or less rigid, that is the semi-rigid, enclosing the entire amount of the liquid within itself. When the liquid or itself uh, enclosing itself into the solid. The exam and the classifications are lyophilic salts. The example are gelatin, agar agar. Another is lyophobic salt, which is silicic acid, and Fe, ferric hydroxide. In the preparation, there is some points. Cooling of salts. If you cool any colloidal solution, it forms somehow semi-rigid type gels. In this way, we can prepare gels. Another is by reaction, chemical reaction, that is a double decomposition reaction. For example, AlCl3 and NaOH, when you react, they will form AlOH whole 3, aluminum hydroxide. This is one type of gels. Third is a change of solvent. That means, for example, calcium acetate is solubilized in water. Now, if you change the solvent, replace this water with ethanol, it will form the gels. And see the point. Some gels are obtained by changing the suddenly the solvent in which the substance is dissolved and in which it is insoluble. Now, when you replace this water by the ethanol, since calcium acetate is not soluble in ethanol, it will form a gel. So in this way, there are few points in your books. You go through them and write notes on this. And gels are two types: elastic as well as non-elastic. Elastic means um, elastic means they will be converted or reversible back to the colloidal salts. Salts means they are somehow solution type. Gels means somehow semi-rigid, not solid, not liquid. So elastic gels means they are reversible, flexible. You can convert back to into salts by shaking it or by adding water to it. So it is elastic in nature, and elastic, and another one non-elastic. Non-elastic are basically the gels which are prepared by chemical reaction, because chemical reaction cannot be reversible. So they are non-elastic in nature. Silica gel, FeOH whole 3, and arsenic sulfide. So they are somehow glassy or powdered form after dehydration. They are more rigid, and their plastic is flexible. There are some properties of gels also. uh, three properties. Swelling means when you add water, they will imbibe water into it and becomes they will becomes bigger in size. You see in the market there are some uh, gels like this ball or fish type, and they are usually used for decorative purpose. And when you buy it from market and add water, after one day you see they becomes bigger ball or fish like, and you use it at a decorative purpose. So these are the example of the gels, and because gels have a property to soiling water into it. So and this is seen by elastic gel. So elastic gels, they can imbibe water when it and it becomes expanded. Syneresis means both elastic and non-elastic can undergo shrinkage in volume when allowed to stand. That means when you keep it for some time, there will expulsion of solvent and they becomes shrinkage of this. The opposite of this swelling is syneresis. And thioxtropy is some of the gels like gelatin and silica gel, they liquefy on shaking, changing into the corresponding cell, which I've already mentioned. If you shake the gels very rapidly or very, they will convert into the salt. So this type of properties of changing of salt into gel or gel into salt, it is called thioxtropy, and it is seen by gelatin and silica type of gel. So this is the three properties you have to write in your assignment. Three properties. Classification. In classification, you mention elastic and non-elastic. What is the main point? That is the main difference between elastic and non-elastic. And in the preparation, there are 3 points in preparation. 3 4 points. So you write down this type of notes from your. Uh, I share you the screen share. From there, you just write pointically and send it in assignment 2. So this is all about your third chapter, that is the colloidal solution. The main point is here electrical double layer and coagulation. These are the main two concepts you have to understand. Okay, so okay, now if you have any queries regarding assignment or this theory, please